Hello, beautiful souls. Today's episode is so good. And before we jump in, I have some exciting news to share. If you've ever wondered where you're blocking money, this is for you. I've created a free quiz to diagnose your money wounds so you can heal them and unblock yourself to receive more money. Just go to moneywoundsquiz.com and answer 6 quick questions to get your insanely accurate and potent result. And if you're loving my vibe and want to work one-on-one to call in more feminine energy wealth, I would love to hear from you. You can shoot me a DM on social media or go to emilywilcox.com to learn more. Hello and welcome back to the M Makes Money Show. I'm so excited because I am here with Jasmine. And Jasmine P. Green is a $1 million mindset, sales, and business mentor who works with high-performing entrepreneurs to create ultra-premium offers and services. Jasmine, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. I cannot wait to get into this conversation.
I'm super excited because somehow we became Facebook friends a couple of years ago, and you are one of the most interesting people in my social media. You're a great storyteller. I feel like you've lived like 50 lifetimes in one.
You have no idea. Maybe we can get into something. Right. I would say for sure 50 in this one. It's only been 31 years. So it's been a lot.
Oh my gosh. You're only 31. You're like a baby and you've done all of this incredible stuff and you've already retired once.
Yeah, once. Yes. Yeah. Still, you know what's interesting? Nobody in my family has ever retired at this time, and it has not really even been acknowledged. Like you know how if you announce something, maybe somebody will call and be like, "Hey, like heard about this? I heard about the new baby, heard about the new dog. What kind is it?" Didn't really get that, which I wasn't expecting it, but it's interesting because when you think of like retirement, you immediately think like 65 years old. Yeah. And so I did it at 30. And so that's like half of that. So I think it's a bit maybe confusing to some. And even now when I say it to people, it's kind of like, well, they say, well, what do you do? And I mention it and it's kind of like they're not really sure how to even process that. It's just not normal, so.
It's not normal. It's one of the things that I like about you. The sense that I get is that like, it's not like you're never going to do anything. Like you're not going to just join a checkers club and, play pickleball for the next 50 plus years. But it's like you are an expander and your willingness to say like, I'm retired at age 30. It's interesting and it helps us to confront our own belief systems and our own feelings around what's possible.
Yeah, for sure.
And your family's just like, are you crazy? What's going on? They didn't throw you a retirement party.
Yeah, no. And it's interesting. I recently, because I had gone off Facebook for quite some time. Like you might see me and Coco, which is my little dog. She's a miniature schnauzer. She's not with me at this particular moment, but we were running on the beach. So, I would post photos like that, but nothing else. Like I had nothing else really to give because I, like you mentioned, I love storytelling. And when I was working with my clients and really getting them to quantum leaps, I really like to bring people in on that, like that process. And so it took a lot out of me, Emily, like energetically, it really did. And just held accountable to show up in that way. So when I said, listen, I'm done, I was just posting a photo here and there when I was in Mexico with the dog on the beach or for my birthday. That was kind of like it. And it was so amazing. And I have to tell you this. So I retired, I want to say technically, because I didn't announce it until August, but a few months prior is when it was like official. I was like, I'm out. Like it wasn't planned. You know how typically people may have a planner or even like a countdown. There was none of that. It was like I really just had to come to terms with my current state of what like mental health and just even spiritual health and just make a decision. But It's interesting because I didn't really share a whole lot about that. And here, not recently, I'm now, since it's, what is it? It's about to be February. Now I'm able to like come and, talk about like what was that like, or, how did I even get to this point? And I'm really excited to get into this conversation with you today. I know it's not like a, convo focused on retirement, because it does sound boring. I'm not even gonna lie. Like I was bored out of my mind for a long time, like crazy bored. But I do want to mention like the mindset of allowing certain, just allowing this to be, and just get into this point, just how all of that came to be. I just want people to really put the phone down or put whatever they're listening to down after they hear this and just be like, wow, okay, so it doesn't have to be when I'm 40. It doesn't have to be when I'm 60 or 75 or 80. It can, I can determine how this works. Yeah, that's one of my biggest intentions for today.
100%. And, of course, we're here to talk about money and women in business and all of that. But it's like, clearly, you had to build your net worth to a place of a certain level of financial freedom in order to make that happen.
Basically, my investments are what, that's what keeps it going. Things that I just
got it
without me having to do. But yeah, that going through that divorce was insane. So I bet. Yeah, I'm just having to just stand off. I mean, people would think, okay, so if you're retired, then you have to have, like you said, obviously you got to have something like that's keeping you. But for the sake of that, I'm not able to give out any figures.
Gotcha. Well, I think what you're speaking to is interesting, which is that it's a little bit of a different mindset, right? Because what we were taught growing up is that you put away a certain amount for retirement. So that eventually when you retire, you've got zero coming in and money is going out, but you've built up enough of a nest egg that as long as you only live another 25 years, you're not going to go down to zero. Whereas like your mindset was, do I have enough passive income coming in to cover the lifestyle that I want to have? And if so, then great. Then I don't actually need to do any revenue generating activities and I'm good.
Yes. Even in like the Black household, a lot of conversations aren't even about money at all. So I did realize when my grandfather, because he was retired military, so he was in the army for I don't even know how many years, but it was enough for him to be like, that's it. And they cut him a check. So he was able to live off of that without having to do pretty much anything else. But I do remember hearing that, listen, you want to be able to have X amount of million in the bank saved so that when you turn this age, you can make it until 90 without having to go stand in the greeter section at Walmart or at Kroger or something like that. That was it. But nobody really mentioned that because I've worked my ass off, especially in 2019, worked my, like, literally it was crazy. I had my very first $85,000 month in my coaching business. Now that was my focus then, and I wanted to optimize the maximum. So I was able to do that, and based on the decisions that I made, even though my expenses were like high, my choices set me up to be here now, where even though the market took a huge dip, I mean, it is suffering, honestly speaking. So if you have just like a standard brokerage account where you're not doing any active trades, I'm a trader. So I'll make moves in the market, even when there's things like this going on, and just profit off of like when it rises or whatever, do a quick sell off. But nobody really just said, like, listen, if you set up this business, that business, or that, or if you invest in this and that, then now the income that it brings in, it's just doing it just automatically. Yeah. So it feels really good to be in this position. And if I wanted to, and depending on if, like, maybe, let's say the stock market just completely wiped out and it never existed again, or I couldn't invest in certain other opportunities because my money is like placed amongst a lot of different arenas. So unless they just all shut down and we got the closed sign on the door, then I would be like, all right, I got to do something now. And I'm proud of myself for even being receptive to them, because a lot of the things, and I know on the like the questionnaire that I filled out when booking this with you was like, the question was, I believe it said, what was one of, I don't know if it said something about childhood, or like, what was one of the stories? Like, what was one of your money stories? I'm worthy. So when anytime something came up to me or somebody presented something to me about an opportunity or investing, it would make me shudder. So I'm proud of myself for at least doing what I've done to live the life that I live, because I've afforded myself not only financial freedom, but time and location freedom. And that's epic. I can go the world I want for however long I want to and just take it from there. So that really does feel good and really liberating.
I love that so much. Are you self-taught in stock markets and cryptocurrencies?
Yeah,
That's amazing.
I just found out that I'm a nerd. I had no idea. Somebody called me a nerd. I think it was a few days ago. Because we were talking about NFTs, because I've delved into the space so much that some influencers, when you know people and they know people and they know people, they start to talk and they're like, oh, well, Jasmine has helped this thing or whatever. So people are asking me now to be on their team to launch their NFT collections. It's crazy. And so I've self-taught myself all of that. But to me, it was just, I just couldn't stop. You ever had interest in something that you just can't stop going down a rabbit hole? So yeah, stock market, especially with the charts and how to read certain patterns and when certain, it's amazing. It is amazing. It's so much fun, but it sucks when you lose. That's the part. Yeah. It definitely sucks.
Yeah. Well, it's like you really have to have some healed money wounds around like not feeling abandoned by your money when it goes, because it's just part of the game.
It really is. And just knowing that what goes up must come down. And I think this applies to even people in business. Like right now, the entrepreneurs listen to us talk, is that there's going to be ebbs and flows. And when things are ebbing, it doesn't necessarily indicate that you're failing. There just needs to be maybe some clearing, because if I'm honest with you, Emily, like most of my work with money has been surrounding clearing. There has been a where I had to be damn near brought down to nothing so that I could learn a lesson. And once I felt that pain and worked through whatever that was, it was a springboard. It happens, but it's really opportunity to advance in that.
Yeah. I love that. And it's one of the things that I've always liked about you is that you talk transparently about money. You have always been an advocate for women really like stepping into their worth, learning how to charge, learning how to trust in themselves and trust in their abilities, right? And put a price tag on their work that's commensurate with that. And it's important. Like we don't have enough women talking about that, but then you also talk about the worthiness and some of the energetic work that needs to happen around money too. And I'm always so happy when I see that, because again, it's like, we just can't have enough voices talking about this stuff.
You're right. You are so right. And, I told you one night I literally binged your podcast. It's just so good to hear the conversation going in a just a different way, because a lot of people do push the agenda of doing more. If you do more webinars, you'll make more sales. If you do more sales calls, you'll make more sales. And I mean, I've trained some of the most elitist teams on sales right now as it stands, because I even still have past clients reach out to me like, listen, I did this or this happened this month, and I celebrate them, but I'm just not out here like posting receipts like I used to. But yeah, we're at like $10 million in sales and counting with the people that I've helped create sales. And yes, I had to have a sales framework. Yes, we had to know how to show up online and positioning and all these things. But the conversation most of the time, even on the coaching calls or the mentor sessions, was about this.
Yes.
It's the thing that people, they want to run away from the most. It's like an uneasy conversation. It doesn't feel good. Even me, when we were talking about the figures, and I'm like, well, the divorce thing, and I could like let that be something that's so sore that it could block me moving forward, but I'm just not, because I have the awareness. But if more people would just say, you know what, I got some fucked up energy surrounding this. Let me into it. If I need to cry for 2 weeks, that's fine. If I need to hire someone like you, Emily, to work through it, that's great. But it's a non-negotiable, and I want to fix it, improve it. They will see results that they write about. But it really is something that cannot be bypassed. Like you just can't.
Yeah. And it can't just be fixed with more money. And I think that's like the most common misconception, right? Is your clients are like, no, Jasmine, like I just need to make more money. And it's like, that's the Band-Aid solution, because if we're looking for money to give us a feeling of worthiness, or if we're looking for money to make us feel successful or whatever, like fill in the blank, money can't actually do that. And even if you happen to bring in the receipt, you get the whatever $20,000 pay in full, you're not going to feel like you thought you were going to feel if you're not also doing the inner work.
This is really true. Something else something's like coming to me to bring up, and it's really like relativity, because a lot of people will feel like $20,000 is massive. Like I had a client tell me once, like, that's crazy as hell. Like, who's gonna pay me $20,000 to work with me? Whereas they were okay with the $200 package. It was fine. It was perfectly fine to say it's $200 to call me for 30 minutes and talk. But when I say $20,000 for a VIP day, oh, that's crazy. So I really want to bring up like relativity, because anything is whatever you make it to be. Perception is everything. Yes. So if you feel like that's too much, then that's what it is. But to further your point, though, on saying like just having more money is going to fix up. There's been times in my life, literally, where I've had tens of thousands, just money, just so much of it. But I'm still in the bed. I'm so depressed. My grandfather passed away in 2020. I was sad as hell. I have never life been that sad. At night, I'm not sleeping at night. I'm waking up and with like full-blown panic attacks. I'm calling my therapist. She's over, at the time I was in Dallas, she's overseas 9 hours ahead. It's 2 for me, and she's answering, to talk me through it. But yet, if I wanted to go and buy a Mercedes cash, I could. And people feel like when you make more, you'll feel better. When if your marriage is shit and you get $100,000 client, you still gonna feel shitty. Yeah, you can go to the mall and get you, some Versace or whatever the hell to get you high in spirits for the moment, but that doesn't solve anything. I say you can stuff, but what is more stuff? It's really, you know what? I got to tell you this, because my intention is just to be as raw as I can. A lot of this stems from, of course, self-worth. You know this. You're the expert. So we have a lack of an appropriate self-image. We don't really believe ourselves to be worthy and deserving of wealth and success. And we attach ourselves to things, like the Mercedes I mentioned. If I own the Mercedes body, and I'm okay. If I make enough money to buy this certain house on this certain hill in LA or Calabasas, then I'm somebody. We have this attachment to stuff, and it's just, you can make the numbers. This is the part. You can make the numbers, but you will not sustain. That's something else I've had to learn in my journey. You really want to come from a place of as much wholeness as possible as you're building, because I know what it's like to build from a broken place, to fill a void, and it just doesn't matter. But I'm really wanting to just be clear that I know it's somebody listening, because it was me. I used to tune into webinars and they would show these massive receipts, or, the results, like the guys, Russell Brunson or whoever else, just anybody, we got a 5K, 10K, 15K, whatever K. It doesn't fucking matter. Whatever K. And aching for it. But the place that you're aching from, that needs to be addressed. That needs to be healed so that when you do bring it in, now you can make healthy investment moves. If you do want to retire by a certain age, now you're open to certain opportunities that you wouldn't be, being so,
Yes.
you know what I mean? So
I couldn't agree more. And the thing is like, when it comes to doing the inner work disconnected from money, it's like, of course there are amazing therapists and coaches and everything. Like, you can spend a lot of money doing that, but also there are like killer books that cost like $14 or are free at the library.
yes.
That will get you looking at those things, healing your inner child, changing your self-worth. And so I think sometimes, when you're talking about these big receipts that people are posting, like sometimes it just feels so far away, and it feels like, well, I have to have money in order to make money, and all of these different belief systems that are really can be disempowering for us. And it's like, if you don't know where to start with some inner work. Start with a book that you check out from the library where you work on loving yourself more.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm really trying my hardest to tap back into that version of me that felt so drastic. That's like the energy of it. It's like drastic. Like, well, I'm listening to them talk, and well, that's easy for them to say because M has two, she's a co-founder, a founder of 2 7-figure businesses. This girl is talking about she's 30 and retiring, living wherever she just said she's at. So that's easy for them to say. I'm really trying to bring myself back to that because I really want to make it clear. Like, I didn't come from this. Again, when my family found out, it really wasn't a call to say, well, congrats, or where you headed, or what are you thinking about next? It's who she thinks she is. She forgot where she well, stuff like that. You mentioned abandonment and not really trusting money. Those were my two biggest, man. Those, that was it for me because I did not have. So naturally, when you do not have, you're going to want. But I think what both you and I are just trying to get people to see is that the energy behind and your intention behind everything, it means everything. That is the thing. If you're coming from a place to build because you feel like you don't have and you're broken, you can make the money and that's great. The numbers will come, but they will not sustain. Nobody wants 100K 1 month, and then the next month and the next month is like, what the fuck happened? What happened? You made the money, you had it in your hand, but because you don't trust money and you feel abandoned by it, that means you blew it now. And now what? Now what are we gonna do? I got to give you your flowers on what you just said because that's so key. Like, if you don't know where to start, just start with you. But people feel. And again, I know what it's like to be on your last. At one point, I was even homeless. At one point, I've gone hungry. I know what that shit feels like, and it doesn't feel good. But I think what really got me, because I want to give people like practical things that they can apply. I've had to really tap into abundance and gratitude. If I felt like I didn't have an abundance of money, and remember, everything's relative. $1 to me, $1 if I take that to like another country, like some countries in like Africa or even the fucking Mexican peso, if I give somebody $1 over there, they're like, oh my gosh, like, thank you. But to us, that ain't shit. But I had to start seeing things as I have enough, and that begins to attract and bring in enoughness, the vibration of abundance and enoughness. We can't continue focusing on what's not there because it'll continue to go on. So I don't care. And I've said this in so many interviews because people do. I did a live once with somebody and they were like, well, what would you say to somebody who don't have shit right now? They try, and I get it. Like, So I said, well, if you can run a bubble bath, if you can run a bath or even take a shower, pour some soap out onto your thing, make it lather up and look at it. You have an abundance of bubbles on that thing. And if that's all you need to tap into that because that'll put you on the abundance frequency. You have to be it, period. And that is just, that's real. So start honestly with you. Go on abundance hunts. go around and see what's there in abundance, if it's oxygen. Because the thing is, we don't think about breathing air. We just know that it's there. And what really changed the game for me with money is when if I could just feel like it is just there. Like I trust to take I knew that shit was there. I'm not out here running around trying to find oxygen, because I know it's here. If you can get on that same with money, then it literally changes everything. Honestly.
Yeah. I love everything that you said so much. And it's, I think often people are looking for these really dramatic answers. Yeah. And it's like, you went from having times where you didn't have a roof over your head and you didn't have enough food to eat. And yet the key was looking at what you did have, feeling grateful for it, seeing abundance where you had it.
Yep.
And then you didn't say this, but I'm going to add it to the equation, which is kind of a joyous expectation or anticipation of what's to come.
That's it. Yeah. It, man. That's it. It's interesting to be in this position, because when I'm saying these things to you, it's taking me back in my mind.
Yeah.
And it's verifiable. I have Facebook friends. If you ever, I know that you're busy, so you may not have time to like scroll through comments, but when I make certain posts and some people will be like, listen, Jazz, I'm proud of you. I'll say it 10 times over to this day. That most likely is somebody who's given me something to eat, who's given me a ride to work in the past, who's been there to, take me clothes shopping. Like I have literally been at the bottom. And so I just, because some people can come on because I know for some folks, like they kind of romanticize the, I ain't come from shit stories. And for me, real. And it's hard to even still not get triggered by some of it. But I just want people to know, like, no matter what situation that you're in, it's just a shift of how you see things that will change it. That's it. It isn't somebody dropping you off a check, or now you sign up to the next webinar that's going to show you how to max out your leads next month. It's great to know and have what Emily's saying is really what it is.
Well, I'm so grateful that you're on here and sharing your story, because I don't have a dramatic like rags to riches story. And I'm really aware of like how many privileges that I had, like, 2-parent household, being white, being in America, like, those 3 things alone, you're talking about having advantages that already put you in the top 1%. And so, but I think what's interesting is that despite different circumstances, it's like when you talk to enough people who have cracked the codes with money, it really is, there's a universal truth that transcends race, country, circumstance, upbringing. It's like, it's just capital T truth.
It's what it is. Yeah. It really is what it is. And I also know what it's like to land on the truth, because if we just gonna keep it 100, because we've both, we've had successful businesses, still have them, still doing other projects, still doing things. So we're very driven women. What we have in common is accountability to self, because a lot of people, they can't do that. They much rather name somebody. And see, I don't have the mama and daddy to, they signed off on some papers for my grandparents to raise me. So I don't come from that. But what I will say is that at one point in my life, I used to blame my shittiness on them. I used to blame to get anywhere because my dad, daddy wasn't there. My mama didn't, whatever, fill in the blank. Right. So it's a lot of victim energy in that. And when a person can truly say, you know what, I am going to take full responsibility of myself from here on out. We're talking about if something doesn't happen, it's on me. If something does, me. You and I both know that really is the success.
Yes.
That really is it. Doing the inner work, working through the wounds. You can only really participate in that in your fullness if you take responsibility of yourself.
Yeah.
It just can't be bypassed. That's it. We can't keep blaming. Yeah. Because you've
So
had privilege. I didn't,
Yeah.
and here we are. Hope on
Here we are.
we
So let me go back for a minute to your divorce, because this is something that's financially devastating to pretty much everyone in one way or another, not to mention emotionally devastating, spiritually devastating. And I've seen in some of my clients who have gone through this that it really affects their relationship to money, because it's like, if you have it, you almost feel like you're penalized for having money.
Yeah.
And what I've seen is it create almost like a self-sabotaging sort of thing, where it's like, I almost don't want my business to look successful because it's being valued and I'm going to have to give part of it and that kind of thing. So I'm really curious how you were able to navigate that, like just from a mindset perspective. And I know it's pretty fresh. So if you want to come on here and change your story in a year, I'll have you back.
Doing like comebacks, because it's always great to watch the journey. So I'm happy to, if you're happy to have me, I'll say that. So mindset, what the hell was going on? Because you're right, it's still fresh, but it's like, it was one of those situations, and I can absolutely say this, where you were emotionally just overdone, and then it just took a long time for the paperwork, for the judge to do his part, right? So I'm like, oh, I'm so broken. I'm so sad. No. I'm so good. In fact, it was one of the greatest gifts that could have been granted to me all of 2021, honestly. It was just really like, okay, it's like somebody who was there when things really the greatest. And then now, you guys are apart, and it was initiated on her end. See me in this I guess in other terms, like, she has it going on. So you're just, feeling like, I'm missing out. Where's mine? I'm missing out. I'm due this. Like, things would be said to me like, well, remember this, and you need to pay me this, or you're selfish because of this, and you out here buying this. I heard that, like, so now you just, because I'm not really one of those people. I'm private, in a sense of like, people just know what I want them to know. That's it, especially on. So I'm not flossing like a car or underwear or a new fragrance or things like that. But it does make you be like, okay, I just need to not, it's not okay for me to do this because somebody's watching me and feeling like they are owed a certain thing. And that was really thick. With paperwork, you got to be transparent. I mean, unless you want to go, I ain't never, listen, me in jail, I can't do it. I'm scared. Show up to the, because at the end, you show up. For whatever reason, like, why are we showing up for some shit that's over? I don't get that still, but I didn't even go. Like, I was really not about that. Like, so, I was transparent. And I had to just really ground myself. I spoke with a lot of my spiritual advisors. There are certain rituals that I did. I did a lot of spiritual baths. Because the thing was, it's always been hard for me to do things for myself. Like, the fact that I'm even letting myself just travel the world and have these dope experiences. I've come so far because I never really saw myself as like a good reason to spend money on, like, myself. It's a whole nother thing, but it started messing with me there because I'm like, well, let me just sit in the house now. Or let me not take this trip to Miami, because if I post a picture in Miami, then that shows that I'm making money. I don't know if that's okay. I don't know. Like, it's just really weird. But I really had to, even if I wanted to deny myself something, I just did it anyway and just kept it on the low. I didn't post. I didn't say anything. I just kept it.
Yeah.
Especially if I'm doing like interviews that talks about like certain earnings or certain figures. It's just not, it's not the thing for me to do. Because I don't want anything to be opened up. I just want to live my life. I have an incredible girlfriend. She's fine as hell. We travel the world. I don't want no problems.
Yeah. You want that chapter to stay closed.
Hey, shut, right? But I've had clients too in the past that would be going through, they were working with me while going through it. And it was so grueling. And at certain points before my situation came to a head, I couldn't understand it because I'm able to have, a different conversation about it, just going through it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, and it sounds to me like from your answer, like you didn't let it affect your ability to make money.
Oh, no. I couldn't. I really couldn't because look, like this, just say, for example, because, I'm an investor. So let's say, one of my avenues is the stock market. Even though how I feel waking up in the morning has no direct impact on the market, it does, however, impact my ability to trade an option contract. It does affect my ability to see another opportunity or another one. And so I don't play. I just really don't play around with that because I've come from nothing. I don't want to go back. Like that stuff still there, in the back of my mind there. And so I don't ever want to, if I'm aware of it, Emily, because, some stuff you're not aware of, but that energetically it was so taxing. The guilt was crazy. It wasn't like, oh, I want you back or nothing. It was just like, wow, maybe I am wrong for that, but everybody voices, I'm talking about. So I had to just get, I guess, crazy focused and crazy grounded. Not let it mess up my flow, and because it will. My spiritual advisors were telling me, like, look, this is gonna fuck your money up if you really let it. Yeah. No.
I love that because it's whether it's a divorce or something else, like, part of this human experience is that we will have things that feel so unpleasant in the moment.
Yeah.
And, and you're already to the other side where you're like, oh yeah, that was a gift. Right. And we usually always get there with the unpleasant things, but it's like during those moments, if we can navigate them in a way that's as clean as possible and where we don't tangle up other shit with it. Because that's what I see happens a lot of time with money is like, money is just money. But for some reason, we entangle it with our worth. We entangle it with all of these other things in a way that we don't with food, for example, which is also another thing that we need to survive. But like, we don't make it mean something about us in the same way that we do with money or oxygen. Like you said, you always know it's there. So you're not going through divorce being like, I don't know if there's going to be enough oxygen. Like it just still gets to be there.
Yeah. Yes. It's the, so, it's like you're tapping on the trust thing. Certain things that's happened to me in my life that has been attached to money. It just, I've, especially in my 20s, I had to just heal through those things and just take away its meaning. Like it does not mean this and that. It does not mean that I'm not worthy of having or having nice things. And, I was speaking with a coach of mine and it definitely come out. Even in therapy, I was working with a therapist like heavy in 2020 because that was when all that stuff was hitting the head. My grandfather passed. It was just really hard. I'm so driven I'm so driven, so ambitious. I can do, if I say I'm going to do it, I get it done. And a lot
Yeah.
of that definitely comes from, it's character, bravo for that. But most of it, the majority of it was a trauma response,
Yeah.
proving myself to be worthy.
Yes.
In therapy, it blew my mind because it went back to my birth parents, putting me up for adoption. Now
Mm,
you see me on Facebook and be like, oh, and it's like that pushed me to this level to make the money that I've made, to make the moves that I've made, so
yeah.
it's what drives us. It's interesting what we attach, certain meanings to, and when we become
Yeah.
free, it's so wow.
Totally. I know. The whole trauma response lens is fascinating. Like the more I look at it, I tend to like have a fawn trauma response in a lot of things. And it's like, it's funny because it gets you pretty far. Like being a people pleaser, like it's not the worst thing in the world. Like deciding that you're going to work hard, like it's not the worst thing in the world. It's like you just get to a point where you're like, okay, I don't need to be doing it from that place of trauma anymore. Like the behavior can still stay if it serves, but it no longer has to be associated with this thing that my inner child thinks that she needs, right? Like I can give her love and worth and unconditional acceptance.
That is that awareness is a gift. And it's my hope that, anybody who's listening to this, they can just be open to that awareness. If you don't even know it, maybe, of course, you can talk to somebody like Emily to help it land, because you seem extremely gifted with this conversation. I honestly, like, I'm connected to a lot of people, and how you do this, how you really insert your magic into people's lives. So I would just like, just tell anybody, just if you don't have the awareness, just invite it in, and don't freak out over it, because it's in due timing. But just be receptive to the awareness itself if you have no idea.
Yes, I love that so much. And I feel like we could riff for another hour, so maybe there will be a sequel to this. But also, I really want to give people a chance to follow you, so that when you are feeling more called to storytelling and just sharing where you're at. Like I saw a post recently about maybe a little NFT offer, and that had me intrigued because I know nothing about this stuff, but it's like I would just hire someone who does. And I was like, oh, Jasmine's into this. Okay, this is interesting. So
very deep, and you have no idea. And I mean, with you saying it, like I'm about to just amp up, like, because it's so exciting. Wow, so exciting. So I'm definitely, I mean, I'll be on Clubhouse talking about that. He's like, yeah, so you guys can write for right now. Instagram is where you can see where I'm at, what I'm up to. I'm also writing on Medium now. I just posted my first article and it went bananas. I was like, wow, that was crazy. So many people want to figure out like how to get into the space of NFTs and the metaverse. Like, I mean, it's really dope. So follow me on Medium, Jasmine P Green, on Instagram, Jasmine P Green. When I'm ready, I'll be back. And we'll just see what the next chapter looks like.
Yes, I cannot wait. That's when we'll have you back on, when you're ready to announce the next chapter, and we'll chat about it. But thank you so much for coming on here and sharing your story. And to everyone listening, take a screenshot as you're listening to this episode, tag Jasmine and I, let us know it landed for you. And Jasmine, thank you so much for being on the show.
This was really dope. A wonderful way to end my night. It's like almost 9:00 here in London. Really well. just being able to share the space with you. So thank you for facilitating it, inviting me, and, making this happen.
My pleasure. So to everyone listening, thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to today's show. Changing the way we think, feel, and talk about money will change the world. I truly believe that. It starts with you tuning in, and it spreads when you share this show on Instagram and Facebook and tag me at mmakesmoney. And you know what moves the needle the most? Taking just a minute to leave a 5-star review on iTunes. This show isn't free to produce, so let's multiply those dollars invested to help this show reach a bigger audience each week. Thank you so much for your help. I really appreciate it. And lastly, if you want more connection, more M Makes Money style riffs, and a safe place on the internet to talk about money, jump into my free Facebook group, The Money Club. It's linked in the show notes. Until next time, I'm wishing you health, happiness, and boatloads of money.